Hi, welcome to another episode of Life Lessons in Bon Jovi songs. And today we're at the song Breakout, and that actually has a story that I've been wanting to tell for a long time. Because in 1985, Bon Jovi played the Netherlands for the second time. So the first time they were opening for other bands, but in 1985 they were back and they were a headliner. And it's pretty well recorded. Um, is there video? I think there's even video. I'm not really sure. But either way, 1985, the Netherlands in Noorderlicht. I think there's video. I think they even have video. So it's pretty well recorded. The people who came there came to see, well, Bon Jovi or like a new band, but either way they had chosen to be there. It wasn't that they were coming to see somewhere else and that Bon Jovi was opening. So in this set they played Breakout, and Breakout starts with whoa, 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 and then John Bon Jovi does like a singing and answering game with the audience. So it's very interactive. So he sings whoa, 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 and then the audience sings it. So this is of course really great, right? You're engaging the audience. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this story. You're engaging the audience. Great move. Great song. And so it starts with that, they're playing their question answering game. But then something happens, because if you listen to the rest of the show, every time a slow intro starts, or every time there's no music, the audience starts to sing that again, and it gets really, really annoying. And if you hear that, your respect for the band, what they had to, and I'm sure this was just one of the, I would say, like, mild abusive audience experience. I mean, they were not like throwing things at stage or something. It was kind of like a misplaced enthusiasm. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just too sensitive to be a rock star. But like every time, I think every time I hear that, and I hear the Dutch audience in 1985, cutting in with their whoa, whoa, whoa. So I looked it up at one point where I find it really annoying, and that is with the intro to Shot Through the Heart. So Shot Through the Heart has a very slow intro. I believe it was even one of those times where they did an extra song, like an a cappella song. So I've given this link below from the entire concert, and if you go to 24:15, then they want to start with the intro to Shot Through the Heart, and instead you hear the audience singing the intro from Breakout, which was by then probably already 3-4 songs prior. So that's like really to illustrate how irritating that is, but also how great the song it is. I'm going to finish this story in a bit. The other one I have for you is like the one I really want you to check into, especially if you want to like brush up on your knowledge of which song is Breakout. Like, I don't want you to go to the album. I want you to go to the live versions, and I will do that more often, because Bon Jovi is such a great live band, and especially if you see those early tours and you see how great they were. already, you know, you're like, these guys were, well, not born this way, but this was no coincidence that they became Bon Jovi, that they became such a great live band, because the quality of the performance and the richness of the songs is just outstanding, just from the get-go, just right from the first album and right from the first tour. So with Breakout as well, I'm just going to give you you know, a live version of it, and it's 1985 Tokyo, and you can find the link below so you can, you know, listen to that to remember, oh yeah, that was Breakout. And a really great thing about that performance is that at 3 minutes 25, Jon Bon Jovi lies down on the stage, in which is in a yoga pose that I have, I think at my like height of my physical yoga practice, I could do it. But all the other, you know, years, and especially now, I just can't do it. It's when you sit between your feet. So children often do this, but he has his knees together and the feet are next to the hips. He's sitting in between the feet and then lying backwards on stage, and he is circling a microphone standard above his, you know, above him. So he's doing a yoga pose that I can no longer do. Who knows, maybe one time I will. But, and he's circling a microphone stand. So that's that 3 minute 25. So that's a little something extra if you're going to watch Breakout. So coming back to this Dutch experience, this Dutch concert experience that Bon Jovi had in 1985, I still, like, to me, it's like that's not what you want for your show, that the audience just keeps, you know, yelling it at you every time that they think the show is, I don't know, you know, you're not defending your stage, you're not defending your right to perform there, and you know, you're not aggressively leaning into it, and immediately you get whoa, 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 whoa. I still think that must have been annoying, and but again, I might be wrong. Maybe they think that's really cool. Either way, that performance, I think it has such a great lesson, because if you because the song was actually written, it was the first song when Richie Sambora was rehearsing with Bon Jovi. So they had just met, they had agreed that he would join, or that he would come hang out, and then they started working on Breakout, which was written by David and John. And this song was developed into such a strong song that within 2 weeks after they had written Breakout, they were signed by Mercury Records. And this song, Breakout, was often the opener of the show, and it kept playing a very important role in the early set up until like 1987. So Breakout was a very early song. It was basically the first song after Runaway that was written as a band. And so Runaway was not written as a band, but it was kind of like the first band song where Richie was present, and you know, they started working on this, and it stayed important in their body of work in those mid-80s. Got them a record deal. Was just a very important song for their live set. Except then in the Netherlands, the fans keep yelling it at you, and you know, I imagine that you might be frustrated. And I think it is an example that sometimes something you know, you can do something that well that you actually have to suffer for it as well. There is a point where something can be so catchy, it can be so entertaining, it just clicks with so many people, or it clicks so hard that people just need to express it. They need to do something with it. They need to, you know, process it and make it their own. And that can be very confronting. So maybe you have something in your life, either that you consciously put a lot of effort in, like in the song Breakout, Bon Jovi put a lot of effort in, obviously, or that is just something that is that you know, you've done naturally, or that's just how you are. You don't really think about it. You never really put in effort in it. Or it's something that is kind of like thrown into your lap by chance, where you have no ownership of it. You know, you're like, you never really realized when that came. You didn't choose it. It just happened. And now everybody is responding to it and kind of like want you to interact with you over it. Or so you can have all kinds of levels of how conscious you were when you chose it, or why you chose it, or why it's in your life. But either way, it's clicking with the people around you, and they're kind of like on this, they're toying with it, and they're teasing you with it, and they're they're interacting with you over it, and you get grumpy, and you get kind of like, I wish it hadn't happened, or I wish this, you know, this was not thrown into my lap. I wish I was not that, you know, outspoken, or I did not have that as my personality or as my identity. Or maybe you even wish I wish I didn't put that much effort in that piece of art, or in that piece of my work, or in whatever it was, and that it really was something that you put so much effort in, and you try to start to regret it, because it's like, I don't want to deal with how everybody's responding. And this is like a really difficult thing. So when something like that happens, you know, you have a choice. You can I was going to say back down, but in this case, I think you can break down. You can break down and back down and start being ashamed of something that is really a part of you, or is part of your story. Or, like Bon Jovi, you can just take that thing and run with it and own it. Own that you have moved these people. Own that you have, you know, a gift or a quality or a personality that triggers something in people, where they suddenly feel alive, and they start to sing back, and they start to interact with people, and they need to process it, whatever it is that you have given to them, you know. So I think this song, Breakout, with that catchy intro that always worked and it always got the crowd going, but that in the Netherlands in 1985 kind of like backfired. I think that's a song about ownership. It's a song about what happens when you really move something in people, and when the work you create, or personality you have, or whatever it is, starts to get a life of its own. And can you still, you know, back yourself? Can you own that? Can you own that you have that effect on people, or that your work has that effect on people? Or are you gonna break down and back down? Okay, so that was it for today. Tomorrow I'm back with Burning for Love. See you then. Bye.